Hey, good morning, YouTube, again. So, I'm bringing y'all one of the shows that I'm pretty sure some of y'all want to see. I know I want to see it. BMF Season 4, Episode 1, Graduation Day. And it starts off in Mexico. And it also starts with Meech and Terry in Mexico. And they both on the ground. And the Mexican cartel, I do assume that that's what he is. They was telling Terry to get his head in the game. Then he got bit by a darn snake. And I'm like, well, that's what you get, Meech. Because you always have been so mean to your brother. You always have been so mean. And maybe it's just me being a woman. But he always was so mean to Terry, Southwest T. And I'm like, why did you always have such disdain for him? And you find out later in the episode. And you'll find out why Southwest T wants to, pretty much just assume his position as between the brothers. And then he told him that he needs to get his head in the game, and he got bit by a snake. And then Terry, aka Southwest T, is there for him despite how Meech treats him. He always have to be there for him. He always have to be the bigger man to him. And that's why I say I don't quite honestly like that, because I don't like how he was, treating him. But it pans to Detroit 6 months later, and T is gambling to pay for his debts. And his friend Hoop tells him that he's not going to pay no more. And see, what happened is Hoop said that Lala's husband, I be forgetting, I remember his name a little bit later. And she tells him that he is, I don't remember that dude's name, but he under Lala's husband and all that stuff. And then he said he not gonna pay no more, and T leaves the game, for him just gambling, trying to get some money and making ends meet. And I'm pretty sure that it was for his child's mother, because, he has a household, unfortunately, that he has to support as well. And then it pans to Lucille talking with the elder mother about how the standing preacher's wife is ill and is stepping down. And then she told her about the lead preacher role or pastor role, and told that she would like to interview Lucille for the leading preacher role. And Lucille stated that she can't because it's her daughter's graduation. She's so sweet. It's her daughter's graduation. And then the elder mother says that kids are a blessing, and that there's no time like the present time for her to, be the head pastor. Because she said that she feels that she has all the skills, and she said that she has, the drive, and she has the word, and she can get through to the people. And then it pans to Southwest T on the phone with Jay Pusher. Jay Pusher is the one that is supposed to be paying them so that they have the money, but he was supposed to be paying Southwest T to work with him. And he always, if y'all remember Jay Pusher, He always had, you know, he just always had the wanted to, be that person, and he always was riding for none other than Meech. So that's why he don't want to keep paying, because Meech is back. And Hoop gonna be asking Southwest T why, and is he gonna ever let him know what happened to Meech and all that. And then Terry, he didn't say anything. And then he said he just want him to, what he need him to do is, he don't need him to ask any questions, pretty much. He said just grab Jay Pusha, and bring his heirs to him to deal with him personally, in person. And Hoop, aka, is asking again, Terry, how is he gonna tell him what happened to Meech? And he just pretty much said no. And then Terry says to just focus on the task at hand right now. But Hoop then says that he gotta figure out what has been going on with Meech. And Terry then bangs his hand, saying, that's the problem. You always treated Meech better. You always treated Meech better than me. You always pretty much looked over me. It was always about Meech this, Meech that, Meech this, Meech that. It's always the good brother and the bad brother. And Terry Southwest T, he actually is the good brother in most eyes. And then I said, oh no, he done banged his hand on the thing and he's upset. And he said that's the problem. Y'all always treated Meech like he was better, and then y'all always treated him like he was the chosen one. But T been making sure, but T been making sure everything is running smooth, and that he makes sure that everyone eats and everyone don't have nothing to worry about. And Hoop states, you have. And he was asking him, well, who been doing this and this and that, and you still hollering about Meech, and you always still choosing him over me. And then Hoop just went ahead and said, well, you have. And they said, okay. And then it pans to, oh gosh, will he ever go away? I don't know why. It pans to Lamar singing in the church rehab. We shall overcome someday. He got a good voice. He always sound good from when he was in that season. I want to say season 4 or 5, when he was singing Happy Feelings in the Air. And then it panned to him, and that he is in, rehab, and Lamar been in rehab the last 3 months. And he is giving his testimony that his addiction beat him, and not even ever again. He is a changed man. Y'all believe he a changed man? Lamar always gonna be Lamar. If y'all remember the real BMF story, you remember who Lamar is. And then it pans to T, when Booth, that's his name, Booth's wife, knocks at the door. And then it's Markeisha is her name, by the way. Lala's character is Markeisha, and Booth is the one that's in jail or prison. And then T thinks that she is coming to make up with him in a relationship. Then she says that it is a business proposition, and she wants to get, in the business with him. And then she tells him, T, she is not playing, and then she needs his help to get in the game. And then T stated, and he started laughing and said that he can take care of her if that's what she wants, if she lets him. He always wanted to take care of her, but he never think that she was, able to be up in the game, and he didn't think that she was smart. And then Markeisha said that Terry, that she gave Booth the idea to expand from H, heroin, to C, coke. And she said it was her. All the ideas basically was her. And then she stated that she is ready for the challenge, and T would not fall. He would not follow. Then Markeisha, and he wouldn't fold. So he basically wouldn't, he didn't take her serious. And I said, that's so effed up. He didn't take her serious. And then she said, F-U-T. When will not be dealing with little boys no more like you. And then she walked out the door. And then it panned to Charles playing the piano, and Charles, and then the graduation for Nicole, and stating that he said she looks beautiful. And then Lucille, she just in frantic mode. She told Charles to stop playing that guitar. And she said, I got an interview to go to. And then she get a knock at the door. And then the cake is delivered for Nicole's graduation. And then Lucille continues to say that she is going to be late. And she has an interview. And LaWanda T's baby moms did Nicole's hair. And then Nicole said that, well, it doesn't look like the picture. I said, oh, Nicole. And she said, LaWanda said that her name is LaWanda. Southwest T's child's mother, her name is LaWanda. And she's staying in the house with Lucille and Nicole. And then Southwest T, he was okay. Well, he asked his mom if she could stay there. So she don't stay with him. And then Nicole didn't like her hair. She said it don't look like the picture. And then LaWanda said, well, I'm just, this my first client and all that. And I'm like, well, it's not gonna look like the magazine photo, but it looks nice, Nicole. And then, she just pretty much saying that I don't like it. And then then they're paying back to Lamar, and he in the halfway house. Then he talking to his girlfriend, and then propositioning her to sleep with him on that dark halfway house bed. And then he said, well, it ain't been a problem before. And she said, that's wrong. I'm not going to do that. He said, it ain't been a problem before. I said, ooh, Lamar, just anything just to get some. Ooh, Lord. Then it pans back to Lucille's interview. And she is being told that it is known that her sons do not walk on the holy path. And then by a male interviewer is saying that she can make, and then she tells a male interviewer, the male interviewer that said that it has been told that your sons are not walking the holy path. And she said, well, I can make a difference in the church, and I have pretty much the means to pastor the church, and I will be a great pastor. And she pretty much just showed her skills and showed her wiles and all that stuff. And I'm like, you ain't gonna do her like that. I said, Lucille is one of the greatest preachers ever, and you gonna learn that she is one of the greatest preachers ever. Okay. And then it pans back to Markeisha, and she is visiting her husband, Boone, in prison, and she states that she needs help, and she is told by Boone that she is his wife and to keep her legs closed, and pretty much he know everything that she been doing and not to do it no more, because she pretty much gonna regret it. And she said that she need his help, and then he told her to keep her legs closed. And he said, keep your ears to the streets too for him. And I'm like, I like Boone's character. And I'm finna go ahead and tell y'all who Boone is. If y'all have ever watched All American Homecoming, he is the light-skinned boy from All American Homecoming, the star of the show. It didn't have that many seasons. It had like 2 or 3. And Corey Hardrick, I think he played softball. I think it was softball. So that was his character. And to see him play in All American Homecoming and then come to The Chi, and then he Boone, not The Chi. My bad. They about similar, but they not. One in Detroit and one in Chicago. And it's like, which is worse? Chicago or Detroit? They both bad. But you have to learn how to make it in both states. Just saying. And then Nicole, her graduation is here. And then the pictures are taken. And then of course her mama said, oh, please take the picture. And I think LaWanda was the one that takes the picture. And then it pans to it went back to Markeisha, and then she talks to her friend Kiki at the office where she used to work at. And she told Kiki, her friend, that she wanted her to get her a number. And once she get her a number, then she gonna help her. She gonna help her out, and she gonna help her get away from that job. And she gonna help her, get money so that she can get to college, and so she can go to college and better herself. And that is what she wanted to do last season. And she mentioned to her that she would like to go to college. And she told her that it didn't work out, the finances, pretty much. And she said that she wants to go to college, and she said she wants to do better. And she said she doesn't want to make, a bad name for herself. And she don't want to be, a person that's just not going to be making it in Detroit. And then she told her to keep in touch. And then she said she got her. She said she promised her. And then congrats to Nicole. And she has a very lit, kid-appropriate graduation party. And Nicole states that she is very grateful that Terry came through and he threw her party. And thanks everyone for coming to the party. And then her brother Meech enters. And then she's like, Meech! And then, Terry, I feel him. I'm going to have something to say about that close to the end. Meech she said, Meech is going to say to his brother. No, what happened is, Lucille, she said, oh, I got both of my sons here. And then she said, Meech, you got something to say to your brother. And then Meech just left. And then he took Nicole out there to give her a gift. And he bought her her own car. And I said, okay, Nicole, you about to be whipping. And Nicole said, I don't have to ask y'all anymore to help me get around. And then Meech and then Lucille asked, is he going to say something to his brother, even when they get out there? And then Meech said, he walks away without saying anything. Then Brian, aka B Mickey, comes up, and then Meech said, what the F you doing here? And then Lucille said, hold on now. Oh, Jesus. Oh, good Lord of Jesus, have mercy. It's just so funny. It was just some funny stuff. And then Meech dismisses him, saying, who invited you? And then Meech stated that Nicole never has to ask her uncles, her mom, or her father. And he bought her the car, and he said pretty much that's all she needed. And he didn't need B Mickey to come up over there. And I said, And then Terry receives a call, and he's not able to stay because Hoop said that he came across Pusher, Jay Pusher. And he couldn't catch him in the loo. But he was able to catch him at the restaurant. And then when Terry leaves, and then Terry tells Pusha that he should bring a different type of food. Then Pusha told Terry that at that restaurant that he needs to bring a different type of food to the restaurant, because most people, they don't want, mom's cooking. Mom's cooking is so pretty much so generic. I said, oof. I said, poor Terry. I feel sorry for you. I said, it's okay though. It's okay. I like you, Da Vinci. Oh, Jesus. And then, Meech, Hoop opened the door for Meech. Meech show up at the restaurant. And then Meech said, why you got mom's lights out? Why you was going to tell me that you got mom's lights out? And then he says, he said, what kind of Candyman type of is you on? And then Meech stated that he collected everything. Like, now he says always, like I always do. And then cleans up all your mess. And then T couldn't take it no more. And then they just went to throwing blows, throwing punches and all this stuff. And then Meech beat ish, Meech did, he actually did. He beat up T. And then he puts everyone out because he pretty much got sunned and he got beat up. He said, I want all y'all out. And he said, you too, Meech, including you. And then he says, F you, Terry. And then Lucille gets a gift from the flock. And she gets her preacher's robe. And she thought that gift that she received was from Nicole. And then Nicole was reading it. And she said, Mom, it's actually for you. And then they said, congratulations, Preacher Lucille. And she got the job. And I said, yeah, Lucille. And then she got a robe. And Nicole said something so cute and so key. She said, well, Mom, now we both have robes. And she got her graduation robe. And then she got her robe for being a pastor in the church. I said, go, Lucille. And then Meech and T are caught in a shootout, Oh, let me go back. Nicole says that she got a full ride scholarship to Morris Brown, and she didn't get to, that's what she was trying to say before Meech walked in. And I said, oh, Nicole, you're so smart, girl. You got a full ride college. That's you gotta stay in them books, girl. And then Lucille says, you gonna be my first graduate. I said, oh, Lord, because Nicole is so much younger than Meech them. I said, well, we know what they want us to do. And then Meech and T, they both, just, exchanging the money and all this stuff and splitting it up. And then they get caught in a shootout. And then they start ducking and all this stuff. And then Lamar come up. And then he end up getting shot. And I said, And when I tell you that Lamar he don't. And you would think that he would be on the ground passed out like he was. And then as soon as they came out there, then he was gone. And then Meech said that you gotta survive. And then he said that Meech and T, they caught in the, shootout. And Lamar comes in with a gun, and he was ready to unalive them. And Markeisha met Terry to tell him that she met up with her guy that she was trying to get him hooked and connected with. And he has a plug. And then told her, being respectful, then she needs to leave. I said, all right then. And then going back to when they was in that shootout and all this stuff, and then they laid Lamar out, and then we see that Lamar ain't nowhere to be found no more. And then Meech said, you know how he pans to the last, he tells the story, in his voice, because his dad. This is a real story now. If you remember the Flannery brothers, I've heard of them, and I did a lot of research on them to know a lot of what went on, and I think that 50 Cent is doing a good job. And I think that what kind of sours it is because, I don't know, it's that lifestyle or whatever, but I think 50 Cent is doing a good job with doing the loosely, based on the true story loosely. And I think he's doing good, and I think that's about how I remember it. And you can't keep everything the same, because that is against the law. And he told it as good as he needed to tell it. And I like how that Meech, he talks in the end, and he did tell T when they was exchanging their money and all this stuff, and then when they got in there pow, then he said that he going back home. Because T asked him, well, what we going to do now? And he said he going back home to Atlanta. I said, you got a home in Atlanta? I said, look at Meech. And then Meech stated surviving Mexico changed him and T's relationship forever. And Meech is back home in ATL. I said, okay. So, this show, I like it. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that I always liked this show. And I've been watching it since season 1. And I always made sure that I had everything that I needed, to watch the show. Like, this comes on Stars. And I always made sure that I kept the Stars app so I could watch it early. And then going back to The Chi, I always made sure that I had Paramount Plus with Showtime so I could watch The Chi early. However, The Chi, it comes on early, but you have to be up. Because I was up early trying to watch. And then it's 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm tired. But I bet you can't tell because I just got to boost the energy and all this stuff. But again, I ain't mean to get off on a tangent again. I hope y'all enjoyed my review for The Chi. And then this is not The Chi, BMF. And this is BMF season 4. And I know this season 4, but I have to go back to my notes because I have to get the actual title because I write the title down. So this is BMF season 4, episode 1, graduation day. And I hope y'all enjoyed this review that I did for The Chi. I keep saying The Chi. I did The Chi too. But BMF. And that is season 4, episode 1, graduation day. Real good episode. And very informational if you stuff that you didn't know, and then it was connecting pieces and all that stuff. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I want y'all to have a blessed day, and I want y'all to like, comment, and subscribe. Again, I enjoy watching reviewing the show for y'all, and I hope y'all have a blessed rest of your day. Bye, YouTube.